Go to KZN now. Rolling blackouts continue this week with stage 3 currently underway. Stage 4 resumes at 4 p.m. And as frustration mounts, businesses, hospitals and other institutions are finding means to cope and curb the impact. eNCA's Nqobile Madlala is at the Durban University of Technology and she joins us now live to tell us more. How affected are students, Nqobile, especially as we head to such an important time of the year, the final exams?
Well, definitely an important time, in fact, of the year, Maseko. We have already spoken to the Deputy Mayor and he was just explaining to us that there's a lot of frustration, especially because they know that the people in Durban are exempt between stage 1 to stage 3. But when stage 4 does hit, it does exacerbate the issues that they are facing in the province. He was speaking about the fact that at the moment they're still trying to sort out water-related issues. This is because of what had happened with the floods. So to have load shedding on top of that is only going to make things worse. But of course, the students are not okay because exams are coming up at this point. And so I'm going to bring in some of the students here in DUT's Fundom Kiza. If you could just perhaps explain to us, how have you been affected as a student at the university?
No, thank you very much. First and foremost, I had to be coherent that what determines academic excellence is conducive learning environment. So these two elements are inseparable. So in order for us to be expected to progress academically, we need to have a conducive learning environment. For now, there's an obstacle that has been initiated by the government, the obstacle of the load shedding. And it's not something that as a student we can easily crash. It's the responsibility of the government, but it's not dealing with it accordingly. We are having some NSFAS students, NSFAS beneficiaries, as we are in this acrimonious environment of not having a proper place to study because of load shedding. So those students are going to be subjected to a rule which is called N+ rule, whereby you are given an additional of a year additional in order to complete the qualification. As we are in exam, when exam, we need to go to class and do some revisions, do some any related academic activities. So it happened that sometimes we are not able to indulge on such because of the issue of load shedding. And even to campus, once you go to clinic, they'll tell you that they cannot assist you. Why? Because there's no electricity. So I cannot get medical assistance because of electricity. And also, there are some students who are staying at homes. Some are staying from far away from Durban. They're staying in residence. They become affected by electricity within the institution. And when they go back to their places, they are again being affected by load shedding. So this is the situation as students we are facing, and we are suffering to an extent that the institution is failing even to promote or to provide, generators in essential department. But in their offices, there are some generators, simple for aircons, not for us as students, that will help us and able to adapt in a conducive learning environment.
And tell me, how, if they had generators, how would it be of assistance? Wouldn't you think that perhaps fuel would be also an issue at this point?
No, they do have funds to provide us with generators. What happens, it happened that students, they're within library and the load shedding strike. When strike, we are told to vacate the library and therefore we cannot indulge on our research assignments. So that is the problem they are facing. But if they can provide generators on clinics so the student can able to get medical assistance, provide generators in library so we can able to proceed with our academic activities.
And how important is it that you proceed with these academic activities, especially at this time?
It's very vital, my sister, because I told you that we are in examinations, we are in tests, so we need to excel well, we need to pass and obtain our qualification. So it is vital.
If you had a chance right now to speak to ESCOM, what would you say?
I think that I won't dwell to ESCOM, I will dwell to the government, because I think there's incompetency of the cabinets, the current cabinets of South Africa. ESCOM, it's control. They say it's a juristic person. It means that there are some people who are controlling. So I think if the minister can be changed, or most of the cabinet can be changed, I think we can be better as South Africans.
Thank you very much. Well, his name is Fundom Kiza Maseko, but I think what you're hearing there is a frustration that the students want to carry on with their exams. They want to have an environment where it's easy for them to also study and don't have to worry about things like load shedding. He's highlighting that a generator is something of importance, but it's something that's not there in the university at this present moment. But it is, of course, frustrating for the student in this time of the year.
And Nqobile, just tell me, as you've been crisscrossing Durban, what have you noticed so far, especially after April? I mean, we all remember those deadly floods and the fact that that also caused blackouts in KZN alone. So what have you witnessed as we are taken between stage 3 and 4 load shedding?
Well, from what we have seen, Masego, I will explain to you where I live. I know that I've got a couple of people that I've spoken to who are relatives who are still struggling. Some of them are saying that it's related to the fact that, and you would remember this, it was happening in Soweto, where some areas have not paid and they find themselves being clubbed in with everyone that has not paid. So you can see that elements, and quite a number of families have been affected by that, especially in Hammersdale. If you look at the area in Georgedale, you'll find that some communities there, if you have bought in terms of if you have bought in a house and you have lived in that area, then it becomes very difficult in the area, because from about 7 o'clock, I stand to be corrected, but from about 7 o'clock they do not get electricity until the next morning, which would look as load reduction. But also on top of that, what you get is if there's load shedding during the day, then those areas become even more affected. But as you walk around and you speak to some of the people, they do feel that the exemption does assist to a certain extent. However, it is something very difficult to deal with, especially because they still have to worry about things like traffic. I mean, if you have to go onto the road, you have to deal with the traffic because the area is not that big. But at this point, with a lot of cars traveling in one direction, it becomes difficult and the robots are off. So quite a number of things that are continuing here, Masego.
And that's exactly what I imagine, Nqobile, being late for your exam, going to university or school because the traffic lights are out and it causes traffic. Let's leave it there for now. Nqobile Madlala live for us in Durban.